Hi, my name is Toni Burke, and I'm currently enrolled as a student in the Masters of Human Service program. My completion date is scheduled for February 2025, but I am trying to push that so I will be done at the end of this year. So, I currently am an assistant director in an emergency family shelter where we serve families and children of experiencing homelessness in Spokane, Washington. My educational background, I have an associate's degree in gerontology from Spokane Falls Community College. I'm from Spokane, Washington. I have a bachelor's of human services with family and children therapy from Whitworth University. And again, I'm doing my master's of human services here at Purdue Global. My typical background every week is overseeing 140 individuals experiencing homelessness. We specifically cater to uh, men, single fathers who have children, because here in Spokane, there is no other homeless shelter that will take in single fathers. We do pregnant women and families who have been either experienced homelessness short term, long term, whatever their position is. We are a low barrier shelter, so that means that we can bring anybody in, whether they have a mental illness, substance abuse, whatever their trauma is, we will meet them. The only criteria is that we have to bring into the shelter is one, you have a child or be pregnant, and two, pass a sex offender registry nationally and within Washington state. My main responsibility is I actually have one main shelter who hosts 70 individual families, and then I have four, possibly five, if you really want to count it, individual offsites. So our offsites could be, we have one that is specific for newborns, so babies 6 months and under, and that can house up to 15 individuals. We have a house that where people need medical needs. So we've had individuals who've had heart attacks or need specific type of medical care, and they go into that house. We have another house that's a holistic house, so people that are getting ready to transition into regular housing, but for whatever reason, whether it be mental illness or some type of depression, they may go into the holistic home. And so that one holds 15 also. I run an isolationist center where we can put people that have need to be isolated for some reason, such as COVID, flu, RSV, anything that is an epidemic in Spokane during that time. And lastly, I'm getting ready to open my last house, which is called our Flash House, which people, it's our first one that we're going into Spokane Valley. So there has never been a shelter out there in the valley part of Spokane. So we will be opening that shelter. And it is going to be people who have um, getting ready to get into a home in Spokane Valley, and they'll be in that house for 3 days maximum. Along with that, some of the responsibilities is ensuring that we're reporting to HUD and to the city with the number of people that are correctly within our shelters, referrals for, let's say, mental health or grief counseling, or the kids need extra online help. I'm also a partner within the community where we turn around and um, look at, what do we need to do to get into a home. We are a housing first model, so we work on housing first, and then we we have a stabilization. So it's a threefold um, process. You come into the shelter, then you get housed, and then from house, we're the only facility in Spokane that follows our clients, or what we like to call them guests, for the next 2 years to ensure that they're stabilized and they can stay in their homes and the risk of becoming homeless again. Some of the skills that you need to for the succeeding in this position, I would have to say, is being empathetic and compassionate, understanding that there is a difference between the two. and how that actually works. Active listening. What does that sound? What does that sound like? Or what does that look like? So, a lot of my time is spent with guests in the shelter, just listening and finding out, letting them work through their issues. Where I'm a firm believer that I can walk along with you, but I'm not going to solve them, because when you do get into that house, I'm not going to be there to, help you figure out how to budget your money, and how to clean your house, or how to take care of your children. If we work at that at the shelter level, so when you're getting ready to be stabilized in your home, you've already got the foundation put there to work with. The most enjoyable part of my job, this sounds kind of silly, but I love it when people come into the shelter, um, because it's the chaos. And we're welcoming. So I say that our shelter and my staff is the hands and feet of the shelter. They are the first line responders. They are the ones that are going to set the tone for the families when they come in. We know that our families already are in chaos. Some have been living off the grid for years, and they don't know what it's like to be in a community. And so our job is to build that community and calm the madness with them. So when they come in, we see them at their worst, and as they're going through the shelter, and we're reducing those barriers, whether it be landlord debt, medical debt, need social security cards, or they need birth certificates, all those things, you see that calmness just come through them. And then the day that they get their house, that is such an amazing experience, because they're excited, and they sometimes it may be the first time they've had a home in 5 years. But when you put those keys in their hand and they sign that lease, it brings tears to my eyes every single time. And then when they come back, we've had a lot of our folks come back and volunteer with us 6 months after they've been out of the program, and come back and share their stories, just like we're sharing here with the guests who are currently within the shelter. To me, that is the most rewarding thing, is to knowing that they're giving back to the communities that they came from. Some of the biggest challenges, I'd have to say, is working with children. I never wanted to work in an emergency shelter with children. I've always focused on street outreach, and that's my background, because I did not want to get attached to those kids when they left, or their parents just couldn't stabilize. But I would have to say the most challenging part, um, for me, is, am I doing them justice in every day when I'm working with them? So what I like to do is, when I go home, I reflect on my day. What did I do good? What did I do not so good? And what could I have done better? And I think, and doing that every single day, and having my staff do that every single day, it allows us to be real with our guests. It allows us to be empathetic and compassionate, and just to ensure that we're listening to them in all aspects. So the most challenging thing is just, not having enough time in the day to work through all the issues that we need to. Most enjoyable of my work? Oh my gosh, the kids. They're amazing. I love being around the kiddos in the shelter. Every morning they wait for me, they high five me. Some of us have like special elbow bumps, because, we like kids to look like, okay, you need to wash your hands. But it's just, they're excited to see you in the morning when you come into work, and they're excited. They are sad that you're leaving in the evening. And we do just, what we have our kids, what we call our kids crew, and we hire somebody specifically to work with our kids. And I personally like to dedicate at least one day a month, where I could spend time with the kids. So, like right now, we're focusing on Valentine's Day. What's the shelter going to look like when we get all the hearts up and they tell us what family means to them, and what they love about their family. So that's the fun part of my job, is getting to be able to be with those kiddos. Um, some of the things I would have liked to known, in working in the human services field, was that you didn't have to fix everything. In fact, our job is not to fix them. Our job is to walk with them. And so, not imprinting my values and things like that on our guest, and allowing them be their true self in order to succeed. So, I think that a lot of people get into the social work slash human services field because they think that they need to fix people. I can fix these people. And I hear that a lot in interviews where I want to help, I want to fix them, and I want to help them stop using drugs. Okay. We can give them referrals to those places and walk with them on their journey. But our job, realistically, is not to fix them. It's to, set clear and concise goals with them and walk them through those goals on a daily basis. And I think that I wish somebody would have told me that in the beginning. That you really need to be self aware of yourself and your values and beliefs, and also the values and beliefs of the community you're serving, and also the clientele. So everybody comes from different cultures and different beliefs. Some days it might be they believe this, and the next day they might believe something else. But just being in tune with that and understanding and walking with them, I think, is the best thing. What advice do I have for a human services graduate? Um, be true to yourself, but also know who you are, what your belief system is, what your value system is. Be aware of your client's belief system and their values, because that does hold weight when you are working with your guests or your client. Um, be aware of policies in the community, not only with your agency, because that will set the tone on how you walk with them, through their journey. In my case, it's homelessness. There's big stigmas with homelessness, that all homeless people are drug addicts, and all homeless people are prostitutes, or all homeless people um, are drunks, and that's not the case, especially in the family. In Spokane, we have less than 1% housing rate, and with COVID and the pandemic funds and everything being gone, um, that 1% is so hard to house people, because when the pandemic ended, what we're finding is landlords will sell the house underneath them, and they have less than 30 days to find somewhere to stay. So our job is to reduce those barriers, get them back into a housing, and make room for the next guest that's coming in. As our company or our agency that I work for, our 10-year goal is to shut down our shelter. And people are like, "Oh, that's an awful goal." But what it means is we want to end the cycle of homelessness for families in our community. And we're doing that every single month. We are putting close to 12 families into housing. We've gone out and hit the streets and built great community engagement with landlords, private landlords, apartment complexes, and just trying everything possible to get people into housing. Um, and I think that's important as you know your client and the population that you're serving. I've worked for other agencies in the homeless community, but what I love about this one is we're down to earth. There, we have less than 50 employees, and in 2023, we housed 50% of Spokane.